Hola, hola, and welcome to day 8 of my live streaming challenge. So this is where I'm doing the. If you watch this a few times, you already know I'm doing 30 days of live. I was given advice that if I want to improve in public speaking, verbal communication, basically just speaking in an uncomfortable environments, that jumping on live for 30 days and just practice is really the best way to go through this. So that's what I'm doing. And I've done 7 days. This is day 8. And what I'm going to talk about today is is something that I've talked to clients about, and I've done some content on, and it's the difference between sales problems and revenue problems. And what I mean by that is we've been called into to a number of my company has been called into a number of situations where they say, "Hey, we've got a sales problem. We want to increase sales. We want to make sales more consistent. We want a more repeatable way or a more predictable way of driving sales. So can you come in and look at the sales organization?" And after doing this a number of times, I jumped in. I would audit the sales organization. I'd talk to the sales team. I talked to sales leadership, and I talked to other parts of the organization. And what we found was a lot of times solving sales problems has nothing to do with the sales organization or the sales team itself. And so we've come to the conclusion, like, there are sales problems and then there are revenue problems. And when we think of sales problems, what we think of are things that are within the sales organization, right? So sales problems kind of consist of, is your sales process right? Like, is it defined? Do you have your pipeline stages clearly defined? Do you have is your scripting right? Are you handling objections well? Are the tactics and the techniques that you're using on the phone or in person, are they effective, and are they are you do you really know who you're selling to? Do you understand the value proposition? Are you presenting it well? So, like, the things that are within the sales organization are things that we tend to look at as sales problems per se, right? Um, what we look at as revenue problems are things like, if you have a shitty product, right? Like, sales teams, there's no, like, a sales organization or a salesperson or a sales team can't overcome the fact if you have a shitty product. Um, if you have really terrible marketing, for example, like, if you're asking your sales team to basically be to carry the entire load of making the market aware of who you are and creating a degree of interest. Like, you're asking your sales team to go out and educate millions of users or potential prospects or whoever it is. Um, Probably not a sales problem. Like, that's a marketing problem. So we categorize that into the revenue problem. Then there's delivery, right? So your sales team goes and sells a bunch of stuff. Are you good at delivering the product or the service that you actually sold? If you're not, chances are your company, your organization is going to have a hard time selling stuff over the long haul, right? There's going to be reputational components. Like, so if you're not effective at actually delivering on the value proposition, on the promise, on the transformation that your sales team is selling, then you're eventually going to have sales challenges. And so we look at these different parts of the organization, and then like I said, we categorize them into what are sales problems and what are things that we can solve within the sales organization. So through sales coaching, through sales leadership coaching, through sales training, and then there are revenue problems, and these tend to be organizational challenges. Another one that we actually throw in, organizational culture. Like, if the organization, if the company has a shitty culture, it is going to affect sales. It will affect turnover. It will affect turnover in other parts of the organization. It will, like, inevitably, it's going to have an effect on sales. So these revenue problems tend to be the areas that we look at are the unique, like the USP, unique selling proposition. Do you have a clearly defined unique selling proposition? And if you don't, chances are you're going to have sales problems. But that's not a challenge within the sales team itself. Then there's marketing, right? Are you attracting the right audience? Do you have a defined target or target market? Do you have a strategic and repeatable way of going and making that market aware of who you are and bringing them into your ecosystem so that the sales team has a realistic, a good fighting chance of converting them into customers or into clients? And then after, then the sales team at that point, you have a strong USP, if you have a really good marketing strategy, and that you're bringing people into your ecosystem, now the sales team is going to work its magic. After they do, then are you doing a good job of delivering your services? And so then that's the, after the sale, and what's happening there, and that's going to affect your retention, it's going to affect referrals, it's going to affect your reputation, and like I said, inevitably it's going to affect your sales. That whole thing actually makes up the framework when we do our sales audits, and people say, all right, can you help us get more sales? We use a framework, and it's in the acronym. I've said it on a couple of other ones before. The acronym is JACT. It's justifying the sale with a unique selling proposition. It's attracting your right fit client and customer into your ecosystem. Then it's converting them with sales practices that you're not embarrassed by, and that are effective. And then keeping your customers and your clients with a strong, by executing a strong user journey and user experience. And the final two, the ED, are environment and direction. So the environment is the organizational culture, and direction is the strategic. Do you have alignment on the strategy and the vision and where you're going? All these things, like, connected, they're all interconnected, and it's why we use systems thinking in a lot of what we do. They're all interconnected, and if any one of these pieces is not functioning properly, is not working effectively, is not working with each other effectively, like, even if your marketing is doing well and your sales is doing well, if they're not connected properly, you're still going to have challenges. And that's how we look at our sales audits. And that whole thing really unfolded from being asked to go into organizations, both me individually and us as a company, to look at sales as a problem, and then learning as we started to peel back the onion that a lot of sales challenges actually have nothing to do, or very little to do. I mean, every sales organization has room to optimize, has room to improve, but an awful lot of sales challenges aren't actually within the sales organization. They're within the broader, the company's, the company's challenges. And so we differentiate between sales problems and what are revenue problems. Revenue problems tend to be the things that are affecting sales that are outside the sales team, and the sales challenges are the things that we can fix. We can tweak those things within the sales organization itself. But if it has to go outside the sales organization, and it affects marketing, if it affects program or product design, if it affects customer success or customer service, then those tend to be revenue challenges. So that's top of mind tonight. Thought I would drop that in here tonight, and hopefully that is helpful as you're assessing any sales challenges or opportunities that you may have as a business or as an entrepreneur. And other than that, thanks for joining me on day 8. Look forward to day 9. Thanks. Have a good night. See you. Bye.